Jalen Green, I've never seen you act like this before. I've never seen it.
I ain't never ever seen you act like this before. You getting buckets. How you feel?
Listen, consistency and winning basketball games. These are the two obstacles that have plagued Jalen Green's career thus far. And this stretch is a defining moment in his career where he has seen his stock rise more over an 11-game stretch than any player in the league this year by far. And it's warranted. These are the most important games of the year. And this is the guy we've been waiting for it from. I mean, are we really surprised? I'm surprised that he's this consistent and in this stretch, he's had the ball in his hands, he's been the guy, and he looks like he's been there before. He looks like he's been doing this for 5 years. You know, this looks easy. This amount of pressure looks easy for him. This amount of responsibility, it looks like he's ready. He's just faster, he's just more athletic than people, and he's just making shots in your face, and there's nothing you can do about it. Number 2 overall pick, flashback to a month ago. There is a mounting pressure, a mounting impatience on Jalen Green's career from inside the Rockets fan base, organization. What is going on with this guy? This is year 3. This should be the breakout. We've waited long enough. He's been healthy enough in his career that he should be taking the step forward. But you put him in a position early in the year where he's not really playing with the ball in his hands. He's got to kind of be a role guy within this offense that's centered around Fred VanVleet, more so obviously Alperen Şengün. And he's just not great playing off the ball. He's having a hard time finding how to contribute in that role. It's a foreign land to him. He's used to being the guy on a team. And he's even getting benched in the fourth quarter. He's even having playing time problems. And for a guy who has a possible contract extension looming, and we don't even know if he's part of the future of this team. Fast forward now, and it's night and day. Everything has changed. And he has completely changed the complexion of his career in an 11-game span. Really, since Alperen Şengün goes out. That's when everything changes. That was 10 games ago as I am recording this. Now, let's just rewind. Let's take it back. Back before the Şengün injury. And we're getting later into the season. Me personally, I'm writing this team off. You know, I'm saying, hey, it was nice. You know, you improved. You exceeded expectations. Nobody expected the Rockets to really even contend for a playoff spot. And you started the season really strong. You showed what you can do with a fully healthy lineup. We got to see what Alperen Şengün was made of and the type of future that guy has in the league. But as far as Jalen Green, what was the progress? Where was the growth? What were we seeing about this guy in year 3 that was giving us a reason to believe that he could be a part of this future or the future of this team? Because obviously Şengün established himself, and now you're mounting a lot of pressure, general impatience within the fan base saying, man, this guy, you know, we've given him some time. He's played a lot of minutes in games. He's been generally healthy. He's straight out of G League Ignite, which has been disbanded. They were so bad this year that they now cease to exist. So as far as a development program for the NBA, clearly insufficient. We did get Jalen Green. Jonathan Kuminga is another guy who's having a breakout season. But we see Scoot Henderson having a tough time finding his place in the league. We can assess that maybe that's not the best program, the best stepping stone, as opposed to a good school. And we can agree Steven Silas, all right? Not to pile on the guy. Clearly he wasn't what this team needed. He wasn't the appropriate mentor, the guy that's going to help these young guys really find themselves in the league, like Jalen Green. This is the biggest moment of his career thus far. These games now matter. Each game matters more than the game before it. The Rockets, as I am recording this video, they sit 1 game behind Golden State, 2.5 behind the Lakers. With 9 games left, I'm not selling any Şengün stock here, okay? This is not about Şengün as much as it's about Jalen Green being the center of attention for the offense, giving him the keys, essentially. Remember, this team is newly established this year. They've had their ups, they've had their downs. Ultimately, they've shattered expectations. They started the year hot. They had the full team. They started getting hit with these injuries to their veteran guys and changed rotations a little bit, acclimate new players, and right now, Amen Thompson's playing heavy minutes in the starting lineup, which he wasn't earlier this year. Their lineup just looks completely different than it did, obviously, in the beginning of the year, and the way they play as well. So, it's not like they've been running out the same team and playing the same way all year. This has been an experimental season to see what works and what doesn't. Now, listen, you don't need to pick one. At least not right now. And you shouldn't. It would be idiotic. You're going to trade Şengün, you're going to regret that. Obviously, we may face the inevitable You have to pick one or the other. It's very possible that these guys are incompatible, but why would you not try to design the offense around both of them? I believe Ime can find a way to draw up an offense that works, that is heavily involving both of these guys, that allows them to play off of each other. I don't see why it has to be about Alperen Şengün, because everything that they were doing with him was still a lot better than what they expected to be. This team, they are not used to winning. This is not a team, they expect to add a couple wins when you get Fred, when you get Dylan Brooks in the mix. But still, you are not expecting to contend for a playoff spot or to start the year off like that in a loaded Western Conference. This is really about Jalen Green going from the third guy or the fourth guy, the guy that's off the ball, that doesn't know how to be the off-the-ball role player guy. And why should he? He's been the guy with the ball in his hands his entire life when he plays basketball. And it's important that he learns how to play off the ball and be better off the ball and not always have to have the ball in his hands. But let's be honest, the Fred VanVleet and Alperen Şengün two-man game was the dominant attack style of the offense. This is just what they default to. They're playing through their big man, who can be the offensive hub, and also Fred VanVleet, who's one of the best pick-and-roll ball handlers, and those two have a really good two-man game, which Jalen Green, he should be able to move off the ball, run wild in transition, and get a ton of easy points off back cuts while defenses are distracted guarding these two guys. It didn't work. And that's not to say that it can't work, but obviously the offense has to be designed more around Jalen Green when you have all the guys back next season or whenever Şengün comes back. Now the ball's in his hands. It doesn't matter. None of that matters now. He's running the show, and he's absolutely devastating defenses. He's such an aerial player. He just jumps higher than guys. He's willing to put his body on the line and apply that aggression and force all the time. This is how guys should play. This is the type of fire that you like to see from your best players. And he's just really embracing the situation. But obviously you have to retinker the offense once Şengün comes back. Ime Udoka, he's a real head coach. I trust that he can get this to work because there's no reason that it can't. There's no reason why you can't establish a two-man game based off of the Denver blueprint. Why can't this be your version of Joker and Jamal Murray? To some degree, why can't you try to do what they do? You have a scoring machine, shot creator guy that can just shoot over people, that can make tough shots. And then you got your offensive hub big man who can maneuver his way to wherever he wants. You can run plays through him. He can make any pass. It doesn't make any sense for you to pick one or the other right now. The pieces just make sense together until we know that they don't. But right now, why not? He's got the biggest test of his career coming up. 9 games left in the season. You have a chance to make the play-in and then the playoffs. And if they do that, this will be a monumental moment for him and the Houston Rockets, a team that no one expected to be here at this point. Next 6 games are grueling. And they have a game against Dallas this afternoon, which by the time you watch this probably will have already happened. The next 5 after that are tough. All these teams have a reason to try in all these games. That Golden State game, that's a home game. You gotta win that one. If you're going to win any of them, win that one. That is the most important game of Jalen Green's career thus far. Jalen Green has not played in a lot of important games at all in his NBA career, and he hasn't played in them as the guy. He hasn't played in them, period. The Rockets have sucked his entire career, and now they're playing for something, and he's the guy. It's a huge moment for him, and we're going to really see what he's made of. He can really ascend, even more than what he's doing right now. I know we're talking about him a lot, but he could just not make the play-in or the playoffs. But if he doesn't make the play-in, we'll forget about him a week later because it's big boys time. But he could get in there. They could get into an 8 seed. It's not out of the question. But yeah, you're going to have to win some tough games here. And this will be a great, great story.